Good morning. When I was 18, in my entire life, by the time I was 18, I had been to, I don't know, 2, 3 funerals. And the people in those caskets were older people. My great uncles. Two of my great uncles passed away when I was 12 years old. In Parkland, Florida, there are going to be 17 funerals that children age 14 to 18 will be attending. 17 funerals in the course of a week. And these aren't old people, people who were sick with cancer or heart disease or diabetes. These were their classmates, people their own age, who are dead. Their teachers, their hero teachers who threw themselves in front of bullets to protect them. They're going to be going to those people's funerals. And it's very sad. Thankfully, these teachers who were heroes on Valentine's Day, on Ash Wednesday, when this monster walked into this school, intent on killing as many people as quickly as he could with his AR-15, bought legally, by the way, in 2017. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Those hero teachers, those adults, were better prepared and more willing to do right by these children than our lawmakers, than their own Broward County Sheriff's Department, than the FBI. And of course, we have to talk about the NRA, the National Rifle Association, who doesn't give a shit that 17 innocent people are dead. They just want more guns. They want more people to buy guns. They think everybody in America should own a gun because it's our right. We're going to talk about that too. Let's do some numbers, first of all. 150 rounds in 7 minutes. Okay? I heard some comments this weekend that actually made my jaw drop. If I had false teeth, they'd be on the floor right now. All mine. I heard a congressman say, well, you know, I used to be a prosecutor, and I prosecuted murders where people were killed with bricks and shovels. Are you fucking kidding me right now? Do you really think that this monster could have killed 17 people and injured 14 others in 7 minutes with a brick or a shovel? Are you kidding me right now? Somebody on my Facebook page made a comment, well, cars kill people. Drunk drivers kill people. People in cars kill people all the time. Should we ban cars? Well, you know what? You can't drive a car till you prove you can drive it. You can't drive a car till you prove to a semblance of government. You have to go and you have to take a written test to prove you know the laws of the rules of the road. And then you have to get behind the wheel with another person to prove to that person that you can park the car, you can drive the car, you can obey the lights. You have to prove you know how to use a car before we let you drive one. Not so with guns. And I know this because my husband and I went together to buy our gun. And yeah, they did a cursory little check on my husband's record, and in about 10 minutes, we had our gun. That's it. They never asked us, do you know how to load the gun? Do you know how to aim the gun? Do you know how to cock the gun? Do you know how to properly clean the gun? There's a lot of things about owning a gun other than just pointing and shooting. It's not that easy, believe me. Now, my husband, as you all know, was a Marine. So he taught me. But I, as myself, just me, I could have walked into that gun shop and bought the 9mm that my husband purchased and walked out with it, and I wouldn't have known what the hell to do with it. I never loaded a gun magazine in my life. I never cocked a weapon. My husband taught me. But at the gun store, nobody asked. And they don't ask. You don't have to prove when you are buying a weapon whose purpose, by the way, when used properly, this weapon is supposed to destroy things, even if you're target shooting. This weapon is a weapon that is meant to kill animals, people, and things. You shoot a gun at a beer can, the beer can goes away. You shoot a gun at a deer, the deer is dead. You shoot a gun at a human being, the human being is dead or severely injured. And yet, you don't have to prove to anybody that you actually know how to use this weapon when you buy it. So don't tell me that cars kill people. I'd also like to ask any of you who say, well, drunk drivers kill people all the time. Well, when was the last time you heard of a drunk driver killing 17 innocent people in 7 minutes? If you know that one, please send it to me. I'll report it if I'm wrong, but I don't think that's ever happened. And when was the last time that law enforcement got a tip that, John Doe over here, he just had like 14 shots and he's going to get in his car and go kill people? Don't think that happens much either with cars. Law enforcement, especially in Florida, by the way. Oh, God. When I heard this, Broward County, I'm like, oh, Jesus, because we did a show. We did a show last year about Broward County and their obsession with even arresting innocent people for drunk driving and then putting them through the system and persecuting them, refusing them blood tests to prove they're not drunk so they can get their money. Look, I know the first responders right now in Florida are getting a lot of credit for how they reacted to this school shooting, but if you go back to Broward County and their history, they care more about arresting non-drunk drivers and making sure they get convicted or they are forced to plead guilty to drunk driving than they are worried about stopping a school shooter, whom they were well aware of. By the way, that's another number we need to look at. 30 times, social services, Broward County Police, they were called to this shooter's house, even before his parents died, and he moved in with this other family who denies all knowledge that he was nuts. His mother at the time, in 2016, he had cut himself. This just came out. He cut himself. And social services came in, and his mother said, oh, no, he's okay. He's got ADHD, poor kid. And he's got autism, poor kid. But I have in-home counseling for him. And they said, okay, well, he's not a threat. He posts weird stuff on social media like he wants to kill people, but no big deal. This was 2016. Now, in 2017, he goes to legally buy an AR-15. And none of these visits to the house, none of these social service people wrote up a report. So for you gun lovers out there, it's not all about the gun. There were a lot of missed cues, a lot of laws that were not enforced, and that is a problem in this country, by the way. 90% of Americans, Republicans and Democrats alike, card-carrying members of the National Rifle Association, believe that we need better gun laws. But the problem is the gun laws that we have in place are not being properly enforced, and some of that is because of miscommunication. It was brought out this weekend that the church shooting in Texas should never have happened because gun shop owners should have known that this monster in Texas should not have been able to legally purchase a weapon. But somebody forgot to press send on the report that would have put his name in the database, the national database, that he had been convicted of domestic violence. He had made threats against his ex-wife and her family, who, by the way, attended the church he shot up. They weren't there that day, but he thought, well, I'm here. I've got the gun. I've got the ammo. I'm not going to waste my time, not waste a day. I'll just shoot innocent people I've never met. He wiped out whole families in that church, all because somebody didn't press send. The gun shop owner was mortified, the person who sold him the gun. If he had known, he said, he never would have sold him that weapon. And the same thing goes for this Florida monster. We have to be fair on this show. This isn't just about the gun. It's about laws and dots not being connected, laws not being enforced. Look, over the summer, I did many shows about the place that I spend a lot of my summer and how they have rules, but when they're not enforced, because they don't enforce them, property is in danger, people are in danger, pets are in danger. They have rules about the age that you can drive a golf cart. They don't enforce those rules. They have rules against underage drinking at this community. They don't enforce those. And a lot of damage was done last Labor Day because an underage kid went nuts and did a lot of damage. At the community I live in the summer, they are more apt to come knock on your door if your music's too loud and your neighbor complains. They spend their time doing that instead of going out and stopping 8-year-olds that I see every single day driving a golf cart with mom or dad right in the passenger seat going, go girl, go boy, go. Yeah, you're driving a golf cart. You're not allowed to, but nobody does anything about it. They're going to do something about it when one of these 8-year-olds that run around the park in golf carts kills somebody or damages somebody's property. Then they'll do something about it. Underage kids drink down there every weekend, all summer long. They don't do anything about it. They might now because we did have quite a bit of damage done last Labor Day by an underage drunk. Oh well, let's see. When laws are not properly enforced, that is a problem. And it's not the gun shop owner's problem, and it's not the NRA's problem, and it's not Congress's problem. The FBI admitted that they got a call on January 5th of this year, a month and a half ago, saying this kid is threatening to shoot up his school, his former school. And I guess, well, they were tired or they were busy that day and they just ignored it. And see, this is a problem too. If you see something, say something, and that all happened. People saw something, they said something, and the problem was nobody heard them. We can see something, we can say something, but if the people on the other end of the phone don't do something, people die. We talked last week about doctors, that everybody's human, everybody makes mistakes, but when a doctor makes a mistake, people die. Well, same goes for the FBI, for the Broward County Sheriff's Department, for the Florida Social Services Department, everybody who dropped the ball along the way in the past 10 years on this kid. The school teachers knew he was dangerous. He was a problem. His own parents knew he was a problem. And this family that he only lived with since November, I'm sorry, I think they knew there was a problem too. They're just afraid to admit it now because they're probably getting a lot of pushback from this. How can you not know that a person living in your home is stockpiling, has an AR-15, is target shooting in the back freaking yard, and is writing all over social media he's going to be a professional school shooter? Let's talk about the monster for a minute, although we don't like to do that, but we have to. Because he is now pleading for his life. Did you hear about this? Over the weekend, his lawyer came to authorities and said he's willing to plead guilty. He wants to spare the community a trial. as long as you all take the death penalty off the table. He doesn't want to die. Wow, really? Unlike some of these mass shooters who expected to die in the shooting, which, by the way, is why we don't have more victims. He timed himself. He had 7 minutes. He did a lot of damage in 7 minutes, but then he thought, okay, now I'm not going to die here. I'm going to drop. I'm going to blend. I'm going to run out the school like a victim, and then I'm going to go get myself some lunch. And he did. That's what he did. He got away. Went, got a sandwich, got a Coke, sat down at McDonald's and started eating food. And that's where he got caught, thanks to a good cop who recognized him and arrested him. But he didn't want to get caught. See, remember, he wanted to be a professional school shooter. You don't get to be a professional with one time. He probably had other plans for that AR-15, although he did drop it and leave it in the school. Couldn't actually run out and pretend to be a victim when you're carrying a military-grade weapon, right? But now he wants to live. And I'm not a big death penalty fan, but I'll tell you what, this person, this monster deserves the death penalty unless he's acting and he does want to die. But you know, I think he wants to live. And I think we shouldn't give him that privilege, because how many of his victims pled for their lives? We know the one beautiful victim, the one beautiful girl who was shot 3 times to her hand. One was to her hand. That meant she was like this. Please don't shoot me. Please, I don't want to die. Second shot was to her heart. Last one was to her head. 3 times. Many of these victims were shot multiple times. 150 rounds in 7 minutes. Yeah, you can't do that with a gun or a shovel, Mr. Former Prosecutor, who's seen so much carnage. We are at a crossroads here. There is plenty of blame to go around. The NRA, we know, gives millions, billions of dollars to candidates. You can't get elected in the Republican Party unless you have an A rating from the NRA. And let me tell you something. If you are not a criminal, if you are a law-abiding citizen, right? What do you care if you go to buy a gun and you have to wait an extra week or 2? You know, if I plan to go on a trip in 6 months, I'm not going to wait until month 5 to apply for my passport. I'm going to get my passport like now. Because if I wait and I don't get that passport, I'm not getting on that plane. So if you're planning a hunting trip in November of 2018, all right, so you get your gun in June. It might take a little longer. So what? If you are not a criminal and you're not planning a crime like next week, why do you need your gun today? What's the big deal with waiting? Just like you have to wait to get your driver's license till you're a certain age, and then you have to pass the tests. Then you have to get your car and get the registration and wait for that to come in the mail. You have to apply for car insurance. That doesn't all happen in a minute. Why should a deadly weapon that is meant to injure and kill things be any different? What is the big deal? Especially when 90% of Americans agree that it's not a big deal to have to just wait a little bit to have proper background checks. But we also have to go to law enforcement and say, when somebody sees something and says something, it's your job to investigate it, even if it goes nowhere. Just this morning, right here where I live, it came on the news that one of our school districts, a little bit further away from me, had a threat to one of their schools. Now, they came out and said, oh no, we don't think it's credible, but they're investigating it, and they have upped security around the middle school and the high school in that school district. Even for something they don't think is credible, they're doing something about it. I want to mention Emma. Emma Gonzalez, who has been so outspoken on this matter, and she is actually, along with her fellow students, going to stage a march on March 24th on Washington. It's called March for Our Lives. These children are begging adults to do something to make them feel safe in their schools. I hope their voices are heard. The president certainly isn't listening to them. He cares more about Russia and that whole stuff. Our president has only spoken about the school shooting for 4 minutes the day that it happened, or the day after, to bring thoughts and prayers. And he never mentioned guns, not once. We also have to stop in this country being so afraid to embarrass somebody with mental illness that we let them pretend they're normal. See, they don't think they have an illness. Now, there are many good people out there who suffer from mental illness, who don't want to be sick, but they know they're sick, and they go for counseling, and they take medication, and they're careful. On the other end of the spectrum, we have people like this monster, who think that we're the ones that are crazy, that it's perfectly normal when you get expelled from school to go buy an AR-15 and decide to kill all these innocent people at your school because it's their fault that you fucked up and got expelled. He's normal in his mind. We're the ones that are out of our minds. It's perfectly normal to go shoot up your school after getting expelled, in his twisted mind. Here's how I'm going to end today, and I may do another show on this tomorrow, depending on breaking news. Well, actually there is. I'm sorry. If this show goes long, I apologize, but there is something I do have to say about missed signals, because there was one that was on the news, and I'm not sure if y'all heard it. It was only one day on CNN. They interviewed a kid that goes to Douglas High School that saw the shooter loading his gun. This kid told CNN that the shooter said to him, "Get out of here, it's going to get messy." He warned this kid. Now, you never heard about this story again, but I saw the kid on CNN being interviewed. Are the FBI and the investigators talking to this kid? Who is this kid? Why did the monster not shoot him? Why did the monster warn him, "Get out of here. Go. I'm going to kill people"? Why have we never heard about this kid again? We don't know his name, and he's never been mentioned in the investigation again. And I would think that the investigators would want to talk to him, would want to know why his life was spared by the monster, when obviously he was killing people randomly. That's a question they need to ask. Talking about missed opportunities, missed signals. Find this kid who was spared by the killer, came face to face, fascia fascia, and the shooter said, "Get out." Why? I'd want to talk to this kid, and I'm not even a member of the police force. I'm not even a detective. I'm not part of the FBI. I'd want to talk to that kid. So if anybody out there who is watching, I would check into this kid, because he might know something, or he might have known something that could have helped prevent this. But once again, everybody turned a deaf ear to the problems with this monster. They knew he was a problem, and now he's pleading for his life, which I don't think is appropriate. Now, let me just end by saying, Elena, we failed you. Alyssa, we failed you. Chris, Jamie, Joaquin, Luke, we failed you. Martin, Nicholas, Aaron, Scott, and Carmen, we failed you. Meadow, Peter, Helena, we failed you. Cara, Gina, and Alex, we failed you. Your country failed you. Your elected officials failed you. Your law enforcement locally failed you. The FBI failed you. Social services failed you. And anybody who knew what this monster was writing and didn't report it, was saying to people and didn't report it, we failed you. And I hope for people like David and Emma and Casey, who are standing up and demanding change, I know you're not going to fail us, because you're our future, and I can't wait till you become full-fledged adults. Some of you are going to vote in November. Can't wait. You're going to make changes in our society. As Emma Gonzalez so poignantly said, we're not going to go in history books for being victims. We're going to go in history books as being the last school shooting in America. You go, Emma. You go, David. You go, Casey. You go to Washington. And you let them know what the future holds for them if they don't start listening and start acting. Political Paula, out.